In politics, I have seen the role the party can do to determine whether you move forward, sideways, backward, and or even that you drop out completely. I've seen all those things. And so, Mr. Speaker, there is no need. Sometimes the experience that I have, I could share. But I'd like to say a few things to this motion about what a party can do. I was very lucky, Mr. Speaker, to have been elected to this House in the 6th Parliament. And when I came here in the 6th Parliament, Speaker, one day, I can just tell you that briefly, one day, in just one day, the Speaker, my party, which was the only party in the country, sat here in the old chamber. And when I came out to have tea, Mr. Speaker, at 4 o'clock, having been a member of Parliament, it was announced to me, Mr. Speaker, that I was a stranger in the House by 4 o'clock. And so, Mr. Speaker, I was a member of Parliament in the morning, and by afternoon session, I was a stranger in this House. That is a party. The party can do that to you. At that time, it was called expelling you from the party, and I was expelled from the party, Mr. Speaker. But I stand here today. So times change. I sometimes, Mr. Speaker, I consider it a great thing that happened to me, because I went on to do other things and still came back here. What I'm saying, Speaker, to my friend, Professor Kindiki, and he knows that Mr. Speaker, I have, if these were issues about his capacity or his integrity or things like that, we would not be talking things like, if it was a debate about his character, for example, Mr. Speaker, it would be different. But I wanted him to know that a lot of your friends, a lot of his friends, are going to vote for this motion. A good number of your friends, and they'll still be your friends. It's not because of this that they are not your friends. In fact, some of the people who are going to vote for this motion are better friends than those who probably will try and show you that they support you. Because they're telling you the truth. The reality in life is about how you relate with your party, how loyal you are to your party. And Mr. Speaker, some of my colleagues have said to the Senator for Kithure Kindiki that it doesn't matter whether you respect your party leader or not. I think those are the people who are not really your friends. I think those are really the people who will put you in deeper trouble. That's not true. It's not possible. And so as we stand here, Speaker, being the fact that the process that has ushered us into these places is that same political system. Mr. Speaker, it was the same party leader sitting in a chair, chairing parliamentary group, a state house, that ensured that Professor Kindiki became Deputy Speaker, who ensured that Murkomen and Susan Kika and all that team became office bearers. It was not for being nicer or being more intelligent or being anything, Speaker. It's just because the party leader decided. And the party sat together, and the coalition, and voted that time. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm just saying, sometimes the people who speak above everybody else trying to assure you of their support may not necessarily be the ones to support you. Some of the people who are going to guide you along the way after this are the people who are sitting saying to you that, please, accept these things. And I want to say the same thing, accept these things that are coming on you, because they make you stronger, they bring out the best of you, they'll make you who you really are. And so, like somebody said this afternoon, Speaker, that we loved you, but the party loved you more. And Speaker, you know that language, Mr. Speaker, is a language of finality. And we don't want to go that way, We want to encourage you that you are going to bounce back. I heard Senator Murkomen says, I'm going to bounce back. You will bounce back. You're still the Senator of Kithure Kindiki, the great professor, a friend of many here, and we will give you the support that you need. And so, Mr. Speaker, I didn't want to take too long to speak about the issues, because there are no issues really to talk about. It's just the fact that the party requires strengthening, the party requires direction, the party leadership has decided, and we are going to vote this afternoon. And whatever the fate is, Professor Kindiki, be willing to say, thank you, I have served this country. You've been given a chance to serve this country. You've served it with greatness. You should be thankful. At your age, you've been able to occupy very high positions like this one. And in fact, that's what my advice to all the others, and here, Senator Murkomen and Susan Kiika and others. You are very fortunate in a political system to have served when you did. It's not because others were not able to fill that position. And so let's just assure ourselves that as we move on from here, some of your best friends are the ones who are going to vote for this motion, and they'll remain great friends of yours. Mr. Speaker, I support, and I wish that those who are voting for this, we finish this matter, and we are able to get back and a stronger party, stronger side in the majority. And I want to thank all those who have supported this motion. Thank you.
Them. You are just being a little bit clever by half. You know, the problem with this man, Rasputin, he died. He died. But after he died, what happened to the Tsar of Russia? History will tell. History will tell. The Jubilee parties should sit together as to whether you're going to obey the Tsar or you're going to obey Rasputin. That's when this problem is going to end. You cannot have an army with 2 field marshals. This is what is happening. And is causing havoc to this country. There's a time, Mr. Speaker, I said on the floor of this House that Jubilee is dysfunctional. And we want a party that is functional, like a party that is in government. So we are coming together as Republicans, as Kenyans, to ensure that the 2 years that Jubilee has, you can at least do something with it. These things you are talking about, COVID, and I hear Senator Cheriot coming here, is now the greatest campaigner for the rights of the people. But look at the motions we brought here. I can challenge Senator for Kericho or how he has voted in the past on matters that concern the people. So I am pleading that Senator Kithure Kindiki, this is probably not quite your day. Not quite your day. But I think you did the right deed for the wrong reason. For the wrong reason. For the wrong reason. And that's why you are here being, the center of this motion, when I know that really you should not be at the center of this motion. But you did a wrong deed, right deed, for the wrong reason, because that reason did not relate to the commander of your party, and in addressing the agenda that you had agreed that should be addressed to attain a one Kenya indivisible that can, in the end, be judged as a truly prosperous nation. And I want to say in the end this, these days, people talk politics like they are playing with toys. We have people here in this house who have been dragged out of this house and murdered. There are people who have been detained for 10 years. We are talking as if this Senate cannot have the same kind of people to sacrifice. And they shout the loudest out there about talking about the truth and justice. Justice, you can only talk about justice if the president is talking about fighting against corruption. You should be the loudest and saying that we are fighting against corruption. But what do we hear? That corruption is being politicized. Corruption is being politicized. Now, who is going to speak for the government in this house? And Mr. Speaker, therefore, I want to end by saying this, just to address finally some of the issues that Senator Murkomen was talking about. They are constitutional offices. If you look at the Constitution, including being members of parliament, the member, if you are to be recalled, if you are to be recalled, the Constitution says itself the manner in which you'll be recalled, and the manner in which the accusations against you must be addressed. In fact, if I may read, Parliament shall enact legislation to provide for the grounds on which a member may be recalled. So that a member of Parliament cannot be recalled without any grounds. So where the Constitution thinks that it is important to put out grounds, like when you are impeaching a judge of the High Court, or you are seeking the removal of the Director of Public Prosecution, or you are seeking to remove the Auditor General, you are required to state the grounds, and they must fall within the remit that is found in the Constitution. But when it comes to the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, there is no such requirements. Article 106, and if you may read it, the office of the Speaker or Deputy Speaker shall become vacant when a new House of Parliament first meets after an election. B, if the office holder as a member of the relevant House vacates office under Article 103. C, if the relevant House so resolves by resolution supported by the votes of at least two-thirds. So it says what you require is a resolution. And at the end of this debate, we are going to have a resolution. And therefore, Article 47 was not being well interpreted and constructed in the context of the Constitution. And the Constitution itself says, and I'm glad about Senator Wambua when he said, when there are specific provisions of the Constitution relating to a particular circumstances, then you cannot fall on the general provisions of the Constitution. You follow the provisions that are set out in the Constitution, and they've been elaborated in the standing orders. And Mr. Speaker, on this question, one can go on and on and on. Now, this Parliament, I know, is going to be required to play a very critical role in the next 2 or 3 months. Because when there is constitution making, when there is reforms, Parliament must be at the center of it. And we must, as a Parliament, as a Senate, be together in this great quest to make Kenya a better country. And therefore, those who have decided, and they have those who believe in the course they have taken in trying to reform the country, and they need the support of institutions, including Parliament, they must be rest assured that you're having a reforming Parliament. And I disagree that this Senate can be described as a bad Senate. There's in British history, parliaments have been described in many ways, the bad parliament, the good parliament, and so on. But I think in this Senate, we have tried, and the greatest victory is this case that Senator Omugeni argued before the Supreme Court that clearly says the Senate has got a critical role to play in legislation, including the allocation of revenue and the processes that are set out in the Constitution. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I think Jubilee should go back, think very heavily, so that this matter is resolved. But from the language I had here today, Mr. Speaker, from the language I had here today, and Senator Kindiki, I think your case was made worse, because it was as if this case was against other forces who are not here in this House. There was attack and attack and attack against offices that are not involved in this debate. And when people say that Kenya is already a dictatorship, and they elect to remain in that same government, remain in that same party, I think there is no honesty, and people are not being candid. I think if you think that Kenya should move forward in the path of democracy, then let us work together to make Kenya a better country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support the motion.
Leader of Majority, Senator Bogisho.
that it is based on our inability to focus on what is essential, but our legendary desire to always be preoccupied with trivialities, that Africa is what it is today. Mr. Speaker, if a visitor were to visit Nairobi and were to be informed that the Senate of the Republic of Kenya is meeting this afternoon, and they were given the question, why do you think the Senate of the Republic of Kenya is meeting? They would perhaps think that you are meeting as a reaction to the pleadings that were made by the Council of Governors Chair, Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, 3 days ago, reminding the country that up to this point as we speak, our county governments are yet to be furnished with funds to fight the COVID challenge that this country is facing. Or perhaps you will be told that this Senate is meeting to consider and try and establish the truth of the veracity of the claims that were made in the local dailies recently, that up to 358 billion of taxpayers' money that should have been used to fight this particular menace has been stashed away. Or even a simpler reason, Mr. Speaker, that we are just trying to brainstorm on how we can cushion our citizens during this difficult time. But lo and behold, Mr. Speaker, you will be told that you are meeting to discuss the conduct of a Deputy Speaker who failed to attend a meeting. Therefore, the Senate of the Republic of Kenya is gathered. Who cast us Africans, Mr. Speaker? What is our problem? Why do we ridicule the people that send us to this house? If we had this same amount of energy and vigor that we are displaying this afternoon, then this house, Mr. Speaker, should have concluded the bill that was generated here more than a month ago on various responses to the challenges of COVID that are being faced by the various citizens that we represent in this house. But it is what it is, Mr. Speaker. That's why we are gathered. I want to speak to my friend, Professor Kithure Kindiki, and ask him to take heart and stay strong. Remember the words of the late Maya Angelou, the American poet, that don't make it your life mission to survive, but seek to thrive. Senator Kithure Kindiki, you have sought to thrive. Many will make the decision today that is convenient for them to survive politically, but you have chosen to thrive. I stand with you, my brother. Finally, in concluding, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge my colleagues, because we've had long lectures about political party loyalty. Be loyal to the party leader. Read Article 91 of our Constitution before you sleep tonight, fellow senators, on what is a political party. I argue today before this House, Mr. Speaker, that a political party is not the party leader. When you disagree with the party leader, you have not disagreed with your party. And that is a mistake of Kithure Kindiki. Read, understand that a political party is about good governance. It's about the ideals of democracy. Go further and read Article 91 too, that in this country it is against the law to form a political party along the ideals of religion. I weep, Mr. Speaker, because what has befallen my party, Jubilee, is that it has become a religious cult, where if you disagree with the party leader, you are called a heathen and thrown out. That is what is happening to Kithure Kindiki, and it's against the law. We need to be sincere to ourselves and rise to the occasion as a house. Speak to the true ideals of democracy and say that enough is enough. If we believe that we are a house that is founded on truth, founded on all the ideals of democracy, you cannot support such a motion. Don't give us excuses and say, oh, political party loyalty. There is nowhere that shows that Kindiki has absconded his duties as a Jubilee senator. Senator Kindiki, walk proud and tall. I can assure you, because I know the pulse of the membership of Jubilee, the more than 8 million members of a Jubilee party, if a vote were to be taken today, they will stand with you and tell you that you're on the right path. Speak truth to power and stay true. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kindiki.
We all serve and have served in various capacities, whether appointed capacities as a minister or elective positions. Doesn't matter what it is, you all the time serve at the pleasure of the appointing authority. Any indication that there is no confidence in you in itself calls upon a very quick meditation on what you should do about that event. And many times I've escaped the wrath of a very ruthless decision, because when I considered all things, I said sometimes it's better to move aside and allow certain things happen, because when they happen, you are vindicated in the future. I've lost elections 3 times because people told me you did not perform well. And 4 times I've been elected back to power. That in itself is a very humbling experience. There was a time when there was a change of leadership in the party hierarchy, and the man I loved so much, the late President Moi, said it's time to change the format. Professor Saitoti was the vice president. He was the vice chairman of the party, KANU. And when the change came, we accepted it gracefully. In the end, Professor Saitoti ended up being the vice president of President Moi until he decided to leave at the other time when he joined the other party. So don't compare the academia with the political games. These are 2 different worlds altogether. If I were you, I would not listen to the kind of heavy messages being told you move on, move on, move on, move on. Because after this debate, I dare say, Professor Kindiki, that you will be on your own. And that's the time you will know those who are pushing you, they'll be miles away. Miles and miles away. My only simple advice, that accept the challenge that has been put before you gracefully, and take the opportunity at some stage to meet the party boss, and reconciliations are possible. If we were able to reconcile in 2007, 2008, in very acrimonious elections, why can't a simple matter like this one you reconcile? Party loyalty is critical to anything else, even if you think internally that you are right. But when it comes what the party wants to tell you to do, I think you should do it. You can query it internally and be able to raise issues that you might have wanted to raise internally. But when it comes to the public domain, I think you must not give an opportunity to your enemies to push you to the limit, because I call them your enemies because they will push you to the limit. At the end of it all, they will leave you hanging. I think my advice would be, take this gracefully, because it's a decision of confidence. It has nothing to do with qualities. It's that the party has no confidence in you, and a motion has been brought before this House. And the only reason why it is before this House is that because when you were elected, your name was proposed unanimously from a Jubilee party, and this side, we had no option except to support you. Now, similarly, your own party has now suggested that they have no confidence in you. And I think if I were you, if I had an opportunity to talk to you earlier, the best course of action would have been for you to resign. But I didn't have that opportunity, but I can still offer you that opportunity by saying, accept this decision gracefully so that you can move on for better things. I support the motion.
Senator Chariot.
Mr. Speaker, how I wish this sitting, with the haste in which it has been convened, was meant to discuss the plight of the millions of our people across the country who are living in dire need and abject poverty. I bow in shame to note that we are here today for such an elitist triviality powered by petty, divisive, and vindictive politics, as the country hurts from the lethal combination of a near-collapsed economy, a ravaging pandemic, floods, and a rare invasion of desert locusts, not seen in this country for decades. I am ashamed that we are here discussing party politics at a time when our motherland desperately needs the solidarity of every single Kenyan, even the weakest, at a time when our country needs reconciliation and not hate and pettiness. Mr. Speaker, it does not bother me at all that the die is cast against me. What bothers me is that the Constitution of our country is once more being indecently assaulted in full glare. A handful of raw fellow citizens who have made it their orgy of pleasure to humiliate freedom and truth with reckless abandon, with little patience for procedural dictates of our Constitution, which would have given our country some semblance of honor, even fake, cosmetic, or hypocritical honor. Mr. Speaker, the right to be heard and to be tried fairly in a judicial, quasi-judicial, or even administrative process of whatever nature where a decision is being made would help to clothe even a horribly evil process such as this one with some form of legitimacy. Give a man a chance to defend himself, even if the defense is regarded inconsequential and an outcome has been predetermined. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, my faith in God, instilled in me early in life, has helped me to navigate even the deadliest of the storms of life with minimum injury, or even none. Also, my more than 1 decade in academia helped me build moral resilience adequate to withstand the temptation of living an unprincipled life and to resist the urge to pursue vanity. It taught me never to sell my beliefs for expediency. Mr. Speaker, sir, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, whom I am accused today of having disrespected, should know that I have always and will forever respect him. I hold him in the highest esteem and veneration as the leader of our country and the symbol of the unity of our nation. I have faith in him as the leader of our party and will support him loyally to the end of his administration as a matter of duty and also a matter of choice. I wish him all the best, him and his administration, for the remainder of his term. I believe beyond peradventure that the president of our country is not linked in any way whatsoever to this or with this. Mr. Speaker, I have lived long enough to witness even darker moments when faith in our democracy and values have been severely tested. Nevertheless, I remain optimistic of better days ahead for our nation. However dark it gets, the sun of freedom and justice shall soon shine again over Kenya. Mr. Speaker, in my struggles with the powers of darkness, especially during the past 1 week. I rejoice in my tribulations. Harboring hate against them would work in their favor. Therefore, I freely forgive those who have crucified me. If I don't forgive them, they will have succeeded in pulling me down into their dirty underground moral dungeon from where they cook their hopeless schemes. I am reminded of the wisdom of Martin Luther King Jr., never to succumb to the temptation of bitterness. And therefore, as a sign of strength, I forgive them without conditions. Mr. Speaker, however, let them know, wherever they are, that victory over darkness comes to the victims. Mr. Speaker, let them know, wherever they are, that victory over darkness comes to the victors in installments. But punishment for perpetuating the works of darkness is meted out on the conspirators in one lump sum. Those who scheme and connive to carry out wickedness should know that a lie cannot last long. As Mahatma Gandhi stated, I shall not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet, and nobody can hurt me without my permission. I will forever be grateful to the tremendous outpouring of support that I have received from family, friends, fellow elected leaders, colleagues, senators from both sides of the House, staff, my constituents from Tharaka Nithi County, and thousands of Kenyans of goodwill from across our beloved country. It took darkness for me, Mr. Speaker, to see the galaxy of stars strewn all over our nation who detest and abhor injustice. This has given me great hope that our nation shall rise again. Hope for Kenya. Those who think that I have made a mistake must understand that freedom includes the freedom to make mistakes. Today, Mr. Speaker, we must decide whether we will live in fear or we will live in freedom. I thank you. God bless Kenya. God.
Okay, order, senators. The results that I'm going to read, just for the avoidance of doubt, are for those senators who were within the precincts of Parliament and who voted. So the ayes have 54, the nays have 7, abstentions 0, so the ayes have it. Honorable senators, having concluded the business of the day, it's now time to adjourn the House. The therefore stands adjourned until Tuesday, 26 May 2020 at 10 a.m.